Emmerdale's Charlotte Bellamy has opened up about her character Laurel Thomas's upcoming dark storyline that begins with the funeral of Ray Walters. Ray and Laurel were in a relationship before he was exposed as a drug dealer who groomed April Windsor and was holding Beowulf captive. Ray's true nature was only found out by Laurel on January 2nd, just before he was killed by Bear. In upcoming scenes, Laurel will feel conflicted when she realizes Ray will be buried with no one at his service, causing her decide she wants to attend. Bellamy said of Laurel's mental state regarding Ray, "Even though she realized that he is a monster, she fell in love with a different man. And so that's what is so conflicting." As Ray never showed the evil side of himself to Laurel, Bellamy believes viewers will understand her conflicted feelings. "I think the audience will understand why Laurel feels what she feels for him, especially inside," the actress added. Asked why Laurel decides to go to the funeral, Bellamy shared, "I think it is closure. I think she has to kind of see it through. And she wants to say goodbye to the Ray that she knew. And I think especially with the background of being with Ashley, I think it's an important thing for her faith." Ray's funeral will also be attended by Bear, as he remains in turmoil after he killed Ray while defending Paddy and Dylan. Explaining Bear's mindset, Bellamy said, "Bear's feelings about Ray are a bit like Stockholm Syndrome. They're conflicted with pain. But also she loved Ray, and Bear kind of loved Ray in a weird kind of way." The actress added, "I think she feels that he needs closure as well." Laurel's decision to attend Ray's funeral will cause further strain in her relationship with son Arthur, who cannot forgive his mother for bringing Ray into their lives. Speaking about how Laurel's relationship with Ray affected her relationship with Arthur, Bellamy said, "I think she feels terrible that she let this sort of man into her house so quickly and willingly, but didn't realize how dangerous he was. So I think she feels responsible, what a crap parent kind of thing. And obviously, I think Arthur feels like he should have known, and he wants to protect her. And so yeah, that starts on another journey, the two of them. Teenagers aren't hard enough anyway. Do you know what I mean?" Further spoilers have revealed that Laurel and Arthur's storyline is set to take a very dark turn next week, when Arthur reacts violently to Laurel's decision to attend Ray's funeral, leaving his mother hospitalized. It remains to be seen how Laurel will ever be able to repair her relationship with Arthur, as Ray's ghost continues to loom over them both. When Laurel first met Ray, she didn't see a monster. She saw charm. She saw warmth. She saw a man who listened. Ray carefully constructed a version of himself that was attentive, considerate, and vulnerable. He never showed Laurel the side of himself that trafficked drugs. He never revealed the manipulation that would later come to light. The grooming of April Windsor, the captivity of Beowulf, the web of control and fear. By the time Laurel discovered the truth on January 2nd, it was too late. Moments later, Ray was dead, killed by Beowulf while defending Paddy and Dylan. And Laurel was left standing in the ruins of a love that had never truly existed. She fell in love with a different man. Speaking about Laurel's emotional state, Charlotte Bellamy explained the inner conflict driving her character forward. Even though she realized that he is a monster, she fell in love with a different man. And so that's what is so conflicting. Laurel understands who Ray truly was, but she also remembers who he appeared to be. And grief does not vanish simply because the truth is ugly. Bellamy believes viewers will understand Laurel's turmoil precisely because Ray never revealed his darkest side to her. "I think the audience will understand why Laurel feels what she feels for him, especially inside," she added. Laurel isn't grieving the criminal. She's grieving the illusion. The funeral no one wants. As preparations begin for Ray's burial, Laurel makes a shocking discovery. No one plans to attend. No family. No friends. No mourners. For a man who once filled her world, Ray will be laid to rest in silence. For Laurel, the idea is unbearable. Not because she excuses what he did, but because she needs to close the chapter properly. "I think it is closure," Bellamy explained. "I think she has to kind of see it through. And she wants to say goodbye to the Ray that she knew." There is also faith at play. Laurel's past marriage to Ashley was rooted deeply in belief and ritual. Funerals matter. Goodbyes matter. Facing death head-on matters. Attending the service isn't about defending Ray. It's about freeing herself. Bear's conflicted heart. Laurel isn't the only one wrestling with impossible emotions. Beowulf, the man who killed Ray, remains deeply unsettled. Bellamy described Bear's mindset as almost resembling Stockholm Syndrome. Bear's feelings about Ray are a bit like Stockholm Syndrome. They're conflicted with pain. But also she loved Ray, and Bear kind of loved Ray in a weird kind of way. Ray manipulated Bear psychologically while holding him captive. That twisted dynamic leaves scars far deeper than bruises. Laurel recognizes that Bear, too, needs closure. I think she feels that he needs closure as well, Bellamy said. And so, against advice and common sense, Laurel prepares to attend the funeral. Not alone, but alongside a man who both hated and was damaged by the deceased. Arthur's anger. But Laurel's decision doesn't sit quietly at home. Arthur cannot forgive his mother for bringing Ray into their lives, for trusting him, for welcoming him, for not seeing the warning signs. Teenage anger is sharp enough on its own. Add betrayal, humiliation and fear, and it becomes explosive. Bellamy admits Laurel feels overwhelming guilt. I think she feels terrible that she let this sort of man into her house so quickly and willingly, but didn't realize how dangerous he was. She questions her own judgment, her parenting, her instincts. What a crap parent, she thinks privately. Arthur, meanwhile, carries his own burden. I think Arthur feels like he should have known, and he wants to protect her, Bellamy revealed. The result is combustible. A funeral that reopens wounds. The day of Ray's funeral is grey and heavy. The service is sparse. Laurel stands quietly, her hands trembling as memories flood back. Laughter in the kitchen, promises whispered at night, moments now poisoned by hindsight. Bear arrives, jaw clenched, haunted. For Laurel, the ceremony is surreal. She says goodbye not to the villain exposed in headlines, but to the version of Ray who once held her hand. Tears fall, confusing even to her. Grief does not obey logic. It simply arrives. The dark turn. But closure comes at a cost. When Arthur learns Laurel attended the funeral, his anger erupts into something far more dangerous. In scenes set to air next week, the confrontation between mother and son spirals out of control. Words are exchanged. Painful truths are thrown like weapons. And then, in a moment that will leave viewers stunned, Arthur reacts violently. Laurel falls. Hospital lights replace the family home. And suddenly, the emotional damage becomes physical. A relationship in ruins. As Laurel lies in hospital, the enormity of what has happened sinks in. Arthur is horrified by his own actions. Laurel is heartbroken, not by the fall itself, but by what it represents. Ray's shadow lingers. His manipulation didn't end with his death. It fractured a family. Now the question looms. Can Laurel and Arthur rebuild trust after something so devastating? Teenage years are difficult enough without trauma layered on top. Bellamy hinted that this marks the beginning of another journey for mother and son. And it won't be an easy one. The ghost of Ray. Though Ray is gone, his presence refuses to fade. In Arthur's anger. In Bear's turmoil. In Laurel's guilt. Ray's ghost lingers in conversations unspoken and wounds unhealed. Laurel must confront not only her feelings for the man she thought she loved, but the consequences of her blindness. Did she ignore red flags? Was she too quick to trust? Or was she simply deceived by someone skilled at hiding darkness? Faith and forgiveness. For Laurel, faith becomes both anchor and battleground. She believes in forgiveness, but what does forgiveness look like when the damage is this deep? Can she forgive herself? Can she forgive Arthur? And perhaps most painfully, can Arthur forgive her? The coming episodes promise raw, uncomfortable scenes as mother and son navigate guilt, anger and regret. Charlotte Bellamy's emotional challenge. For Charlotte Bellamy, the storyline has been one of the most challenging of her career. Laurel's grief is layered. She is mourning a lie, defending a choice she now questions, trying to hold her family together while it splinters. The actress hopes audiences will see the nuance. Laurel is not defending Ray's crimes. She is mourning her own naivety. And that distinction is crucial. What comes next? With Laurel hospitalized and Arthur consumed by guilt, the future is uncertain. Will Arthur seek help? Will Bear find peace? Will Laurel finally release Ray's memory? Or will the trauma deepen before healing can begin? One thing is clear. Ray's story did not end with his death. It evolved. It spread. It damaged. And now, the people he left behind must find a way to move forward, even as his ghost lingers in the dales. As Emmerdale continues to explore grief, manipulation and fractured trust, viewers can expect heartbreak, uncomfortable truths and powerful performances. Because sometimes the darkest storylines aren't about villains. They're about the people who loved them, and the cost of loving the wrong person.